Danny's obsessed with health, energy, and well-being, believes success should actually be fun, and proves you don't need chaos, burnout, or endless headcount or headaches to keep winning.
You know, when you're setting up the appointment on the phone, it's simply saying, hey, Dave, and by the way, before I show up to your home, I'd love to have a little chat with you about 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes over the phone, so I'm more prepared when we meet each other. Are you available Thursday or Friday for that phone call? I mean, the absolute easiest way to success is just like being around people who have done what you want to do. Like if you want to sell 100 units, like stop hanging around people who are selling less than 100 units.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk-TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. And welcome back, everybody. Here we are. This is Real Estate Talk TGIF, episode 404. That's 399 weeks in a row, and we're really happy about that. We're just talking about streaks off air, and we're just excited about it. Next week will be 400 weeks in a row. That's going to be very cool. And of course, it's just really great to have great people on every week. We do. We're so lucky. Today we have Danny Burgess, and Danny, Danny's a team leader of Porchlight Bay Area, Northern California. He's built and scaled successful real estate business in one of the toughest markets in the country. But really what makes his story really different this year from the last time he was on is he's intentionally kind of like unscaled it, right? He went from running a large team down to just a few people. Not to shrink, but to grow smarter. But by leveraging systems, processes, and real structure, he's designed a business that works for his life instead of consuming it. Danny's obsessed with health, energy, and well-being, believes success should actually be fun, and proves you don't need chaos, burnout, or endless headcount or headaches to keep winning. I can't wait to have this conversation because it's just so much fun talking with you about what's going on, man. Welcome.
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me back. This is super exciting. And, just thinking about 400 weeks in a row. Right when you said that, I was thinking, I've never done anything for 400 weeks in a row. Like, that's pretty incredible, dude. Actually, you know what the one thing I've probably done? Script and role play. I think I've scripted and role play at least once every week for the last 400 weeks. That's what I would guess would be the one thing.
Do you know how important that is? Screw this thing. That's more important.
No. Well, I think this is more cumbersome, right? I just have to get on the phone and practice for 30 minutes. So.
Well, you know what?
Super impressive.
It's a matter of, this broadcast is a matter of also leverage because I do have an assistant helping me with this. In the beginning, I did it all myself. And as Nelson came and joined me 3 years ago, slowly but surely we got into the graphics and stuff. And look, this is a concerted effort, and that's how you leverage. And that's what I want to talk to you. But first, I got another question for you.
Sure.
What does TGIF stand for?
Why would you do this to me?
Because
I know this is a trick question. It is Friday. I'll tell you it's Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Thank goodness it's Friday.
You're really close, man. I want to thank you for trying. Thank God it's finale.
I knew. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? It's right on the screen.
So it is funny. I never meant it to be like that. I just decided I was going to do this 400 weeks ago. 400 weeks ago, I decided to do this, and I knew I could show up every Friday morning. I called it Real Estate Talk TGIF, not knowing what I was that it was like that. There are people that like at EXP conventions, I'll walk down the street and someone yells out, "Thank God it's finale," and that's very cool. I got to be honest. But anyway, here we are. It's Friday. Okay, man. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about Danny Burgess. And, you had, a 24-person team? Was that what it was?
Yeah, I think we got it up to 24, 26, something like that. Yeah, back in 2022. Well, of course, when everything started going the other way. I think maybe late 2021, something like that. That was when we were at our biggest.
So we talked 3 years ago on this broadcast, and it was just, that's really something hard to keep going. I had a brokerage I had 2 offices and I had 70 agents. And a brokerage is not like a team. A team is to me is a lot different. I will say that a lot of teams are run like brokerages now, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Legacy brokerages were, let's get as many people in as we possibly
Mhm.
can. Hopefully,
Mhm.
the ones that you don't see a lot do a deal out of surprise, and broker makes a ton of money on them. And when they would leave to go to these 100% companies, you say, how can you blame them? You wouldn't be happy, but how can you blame them? Because they're doing 3 deals a year,
Yeah.
and they give me half of it. So there, they get all of it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about real teams and how are you able to take that and build your business down. So tell me about the journey, a little bit about growing it up and then coming down over the last few years. Tell me about that journey.
I think the up was pretty easy, man. Like I listen to all my mentors and coaches, and it's like everyone was a genius in 2020, 2021, right? And I was one of those people. And so the deals were flowing, like we went from 76 million to I think 122 million in 1 year. Like that was the growth. And like in that year, or whatever that was, we just kept bringing on people, and I didn't really have a filter for bringing on agents. It was really just like, are you a culture fit? Like,
Right.
can I get along with you? Can I help you? That was really my like qualifying questions. And I think when the market was on its way up, like I said, everyone looked like they knew what they were doing, myself included, and then of course the agents on the team, right? So even if you were a shitty, sorry, I know.
No, you can do it and say whatever you want. That's fine.
Even if we're a shitty prospector in 2021, like it didn't show up, right? Like you just had to sit 2 open houses a month and you could sell a house or 2, right? And in our market at 1.4 million average price point, you could make enough money for yourself. And so as the market started to decline, the agents kept maintain the same level of activity and my overhead maintained as well. And it just was a recipe for disaster. And so because I wasn't built properly, like I'm being as transparent as I can here, because I wasn't built properly, it became a real resentful relationship between me and the agent, because it was like, hey, I'm putting all this money, all this time, all this effort in, but you're not showing up for yourself. And that's when it really started to go like this. And so I kind of just had a heart to heart with my wife, and I was like, do we even really want this? Like, I'm a great real estate agent myself. I'm a great real estate agent myself. Like I know how to sell, whatever it is, 30 to 45 homes pretty consistently every year. And at our price points, that's a pretty good lifestyle, right? And I don't have to babysit. And so that was kind of the conversation I had with my wife. I was like, do we really want to do this? And the answer was just no. It was like, this is just way too much overhead, way too much responsibility, way too much risk, considering the alternative. And so then I started scaling towards, okay, who are badasses who can actually prospect, who can actually sell houses, that I want to remain aligned with. And I started slowly working towards that. And I started slowly raising the expectations. And I saw John Cheplek was on here on your video to start the show. He talks about, you raise the standard, you raise the bar, and you train them up or you train them out. And I basically trained 20 agents out. Right. And I'm actually having a conversation with one of our agents in an hour about his current standards because they're just too low. And I need them to be higher to remain on the team, because it's a mutual relationship, right? Between a team leader and an agent, there's got to be reciprocation. So.
Yeah. And I relate to that in so many different ways now, because I remember, as I said, I had a brokerage of 70 agents and I did it the wrong way. And instead of trying to scale down, I walked away. I sold my business because I had high expenses, because I tried to do as much as I possibly could in order to motivate them. And that meant spend money for me, and it didn't work. And, I got into that hole, and, they say once you're in a hole, the first thing you got to do is stop digging. For me, the way I got a ladder and climbed out, and that's why I walked away from it. And then transitioning over the last 8 years, let's say, from there to the company we're both with now, EXP, and working with Align, there's coach them up, coach them out mentality. And people use that word culture a lot. I don't know if it's that word culture. and you mentioned standards, right? So the standard in your organization that I learned from John Cheplack is the standard is your lowest producing agent. That's your standard, right? And
So
that's
good.
one thing that we're building up here at Align is a real standard of what we want you to accomplish and the work you have to do. Now, everybody says you can get leads from everywhere, but we all know that you've got to do the repetitions of whatever it is you're going to do, right? So you took that, you talked about standards and stuff, and it's really important to, even if it's just personally, Danny, would you agree that you have to have your own personal standards, what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept, not only of yourself, but of everybody you work with, right?
Yeah. I mean, it starts definitely with yourself, right? And then it goes outward for sure.
So as you transition from the large amount to the lower amount, what did you talk to your wife, and that was really important, and I get that so wholeheartedly. You need that support as well, and she's there with you, working with you. What was the transition like personally as you went from being this to being this, but with less people?
So it's funny, something just popped in my head. One of the things my wife and I work so hard for so we can travel. And one of the ways we know that we can travel. So her and I took a large trip when we were in our 20s, well before I was in real estate. And we traveled for like a total of something like 20 months into 21 different countries. And we spent a long time abroad. And one day we want to get back to that. One day we want to be able to do that. And one day we actually wanted to do it with our kids. And that's what's really cool. And so part of that is like building passive income. And passive income to me is like, what are we making? Like true freedom, right? Is like breaking beyond what we have to spend every month to just survive, right? And then having that extra passive income to live off of, right? And so like in my living room, that board is kind of like our tracker. Wow. And so when I had that mega team, like I was spending, I don't know what it was, 45 grand a month, which I'm sure for mega teams, they probably chuckle at that. But for me, that was a ton of money, right? To keep this team alive. And I was thinking, all of the money I'm spending on this team is going the opposite way of the dream that I have, right? And so scaling backwards meant scaling down my expenses. And so I had to like start looking at just the numbers and like, okay, I can get rid of this office. I can get rid of this office. I can stop doing this. I can stop doing this. And like, what can I take away where it's like not going to be a detriment to the agents and their systems. And so that's kind of what I did first, right? I just started like slashing stuff, right? And I think I read Shift, the book Shift during that time as well. Like I had read it in the past, but in 2018, that book didn't mean anything, right? But in 2021, or 2022, 23, it really meant something. And so anyways, the journey was look at the P&L and start cutting all this crap that you don't need, right? And so that's what we did first. And then it was, hey, every single butt that's in a seat costs money, right? Like the dialer costs money every day, right? In Follow Up Boss, if you have a dialer account, I think it's 100 something per, I don't know what it is per user, but it's money. And if they're not using it, like that's just more money being wasted. So we start cutting back on those things. And then we start saying, hey, if you're not going to hit these numbers with these systems, and that the moment that the standards started to raise and stuff started to get serious, agents will just bail on their own, right? Because they don't want to have the conversation. So they'll just start leaving. And that's what happened. The writing was on the wall, and every agent that left, it was like just weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with so many agents because like I talk about it so transparently. So many agents went through this exact same thing during this exact same time and are in similar positions as me right now. Like I can't even tell you how many. I mean, just dozens of people at events I've talked to that are like, man, I did that same thing. Like, and I'm so much happier and hopefully more profitable. Like that's the important part too.
Yeah, I mean, it's growth by elimination almost, right? I mean, there's so many people, and we talk about this on this broadcast all the time about growth, about scaling, about, and we always talk about the little things. We're not talking about, you need to hire 18 VAs and all that stuff and leverage all that. But we do talk about leveraging systems for growth. And one of the things that people see is, I want to grow. We have an agent that just joined our team that did 500,000 GCI last year, and he wants to get to 1 million this year. And he knows, by the way, the systems and processes that we all have, that he's going to be able to do that, and with support, coaching, training, as he brings his own little micro team together. Oh, well, not little anymore, but you know what I mean. But now we're also talking about, Danny, what you've done is you've actually taken the leverage and didn't reduce your income, but you just reduced the headache. You reduced the stress here and here and here. Talk to me about that and what you were able to do to get there.
So it's funny you brought VAs, because I think about VAs all the time. But about 4 years ago, I moved from the Bay Area to Sacramento. So I live 2 hours away from my market. So if you ever want to like make big changes, kind of burn the boats, right? Burn the ships. And that's kind of what we did by moving away from our market. Was we were like, wow, now we really have to understand leverage. And so I went back into production. I went heavier into production, and I just started looking at my business and saying, how do I spend every evening with my kids? How do I be there for their baseball games? How do we take as many vacations as we want every single year? And it was basically just utilizing virtual assistants, utilizing showing agents, having the listing checklists, right? Having people who are paying more attention to my stuff than I am, which are my VAs. And that's kind of what it looked like. It was kind of a forced hand, right? Because we really wanted to move out of the Bay. We really wanted to get closer to the mountains. And I just wanted more time to do stuff that I enjoyed, because most of the time, like, selling houses isn't my number one passion. So that's kind of how it transformed. And now I live a pretty chill life compared to what it was 5 years ago. So
when you went from, you moved 2 hours away, did you continue to have your business in the Bay Area and just work it remotely, kind of, sort of?
Yep. So like 98% of my business is still Bay Area. I mean, I'm in contract out here in Sacramento, ironically, right now, but most of my business is still in the Bay, because that's where all my sphere is. And I still predominantly prefer the Bay, selling there, just because the price points, and I know the market extremely well. So
how do you do that? How do you work from 2 hours away? Are you doing it virtually? Are you doing it with Zoom?
It's super simple. Like, it's just super simple. Everyone makes such a big deal when they hear it. They're like, what? How do you do that? I'm super efficient. So like, if I have a day that I know I have, like, I have to go in the Bay Area tomorrow, right? I have a listing that just hit the market. I have a prep for a listing. I have a showing, and I have a listing appointment. But I compiled all of those into one day. And so I'm going to drive out there. I'm going to go bing, 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 bing. And then I'm going to drive home. And so look, it's a little bit of a commute tomorrow, right? But the majority of the time I'm here in Sacramento. And my clients never know the difference. Honestly, they don't. And once I've built a relationship with the buyer, and I've already coached them on like what to look for in a home when we go and tour homes, they don't need me there, right? A showing agent is just fine. And I've just become better at qualifying clients, I think, and qualifying their needs. So like, when we're seeing homes, we're not seeing 30 homes, we're seeing 5 homes, right? We're writing an offer that wins. And, you just make it work. And so some weeks I go in multiple times, some weeks I don't go in at all, but I utilize showing agents. I utilize virtual assistants. I utilize Zoom consultations. And like I said, the consumer never knows the difference, which is the big part to me. I don't want them to lose because I'm out of the area. They still feel the love and feel like they're getting great counsel. So,
do you tell them you're out of the area?
No need.
Okay.
If they ask, I say, what's weird about that? I've lived in Sacramento for 4 years now, and I'm still kicking butt out here, right? And usually they're by referral, so right. it's right. An easy conversation. So that's what I have set up, and it's super cool.
So the important part is the leverage part, is the presentation part. And you said the word, which we talked about a lot this week with my teams, qualification, qualifying. So you talked about it's really important for you to qualify the buyer. So you're showing 5 instead of 30 homes. And you have to also qualify the seller as well. Talk to me about the process that you go through, and this will help anybody that ever watches this episode, about qualifying that buyer, qualifying that seller. What's involved in that, and while you tell me that, it's going to be evident why it's so important.
So it's weird that I'm bringing this guy up again, but in an hour, I'm meeting with one of my agents and we're kind of at a crossroads. One of the things he's not doing is using our pre-qual sheets. So he's going on these appointments. He's spending all of this energy and time on these deals, and then they're not coming to fruition. And the most important thing you can do for your conversion in your time is just simply pre-qual these clients, right? And it's a very, when you're setting up the appointment on the phone, it's simply saying, hey, Dave, and by the way, before I show up to your home, I'd love to have a little chat with you about 5 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes over the phone, so I'm more prepared when we meet each other. Are you available Thursday or Friday for that phone call? And then you're like, Thursday at 5. And you're like, perfect, I'll call you Thursday at 5. Then you have this list of questions, and they're all strategically written out, right? And I'm sure you guys have this, that get you all the answers you need. Hey, Dave, on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to sell your home? 8, perfect. What would make it a 10? Well, if it was this, beautiful. And if the house doesn't sell, what's your plan? Well, I never thought about that. Well, we should think about that, right? Tell me, let's walk through that. So let's just say that we take it to the market and the stock market collapses and we can't get 1.4, but we have an offer at 1.2. What are we going to do at that point? Like, having these really tough conversations up front makes life so much easier down the line too, right? Because then you can say, hey, remember when you said you're willing to take 1.2 so we can get you to Austin? Perfect. Let's do this. Right. And then the next best question is, hey, Dave, what are 3 attributes or characteristics that is the most important to you about your real estate agent? That they're honest, that they communicate with me, and their commission. Okay, beautiful. We're going to address all 3 of those when I see you tomorrow. What about commission is the most important to you? And you just get them to give you all the answers, right? And if you tell me, hey, I want 1.7 for my 1.2 house, I'm going to say, is that your bottom line? So you're not going to break, like, if we get you an offer at 1.5, you're not going to take that. No, you 100%. Perfect. Great. Well, why don't we do this? I'm going to send you all the comps in your area, all the data. I want you to look at that. And then I want to see what you think pricing should look like before I come over tomorrow. Right. And I really just I'm getting him or her to say, I'm an idiot. Or I still want 1.7. And if it's 1.7, I usually say, okay, perfect. Well, why don't I give you a call in a couple springs when we get to that price point? Right. And I don't go, right? Because it's a big commitment, right? For me to go and get prepped and get all the way over to their house. So
one of the things that's really important in what you just did and all the answers you got, what were the 3 things? And then the pricing issue is that what your objections are going to be the moment you walk in that house. You know what their concerns are. You know that, they're worried about commission. So you know how to address that. You know if the pricing is, you're not going if it's going to be overpriced if you're forced to do that, because why do that? You're not a brand new agent. You don't need the listing to a point. You know all the answers. And one of the things I'm glad you did exactly what you did, because that was what I was looking for, honestly, because it's really simple and it's what we don't do. There's a lot of agents that will go out there,
they're
scared out for the listing. What's that?
They're scared to do it, right? They're either scared or they're like lazy, like one of the two. Usually it's scared, right? Usually they don't want to have to, they don't want the seller to say the thing that might not let them get to the house or to the listing. But for me, I'd much rather have that up front, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the people, I'm working with are newer agents or stuck agents, and when they don't want to do it because, oh, geez, what happens if they say they're not going to list their house and I'm too early or whatever? Okay, great. People say, well, I'm just going to preview the house. Well, now you're in the friend zone. Yeah. You said you're going to preview it. You can never do anything but just preview it. You cannot talk them, do a listing presentation, because you don't have the right to do that. Your friends are there. It's like that person in high school. You were their friend. You wanted to date them, but you couldn't because you were in the friend zone, right?
Yep.
That's the analogy I always like to use. So
let me add 2 things to that.
Go ahead.
Because if we add these 2 things, then whoever's watching it literally can just do what I just did, and you don't even need any of the other questions, really. So the other 2 most important questions are you interviewing any other agents? That's a huge one. And then the second backup question, if they say yes, perfect, who else are you interviewing? right? You say just like that, because we say, who else are you interviewing? They might say, oh, I don't want to give you that, but oh, perfect. Who else are you interviewing? Downswing, right? You need that information. You need to know who they're interviewing, because then you can look up that agent and basically present to all their weaknesses. That's huge. So that's a one. And then what was the second one? Shoot, I'm blanking on it. Oh, if everything makes sense tomorrow when we meet, will you be ready to move forward? Right? Are you going to be willing to move forward? You really need that question, right? I really want to hear a yes there. And most of the time they will say yes. Yeah, of course, if everything makes sense, yeah, we'll move forward. That way, when you go for the ask tomorrow, they're prepared for it, right? You're like mentally, subconsciously preparing them to sign the listing agreement. So I really like that. And then when you get to the door, right, you do the old Diana Kokoska dance where it's like, hey, we're going to go over this, this, and this. And then at the end of it, we're going to make sure everything makes sense so we can move forward, right? So then you prep them again. And then it just makes the conversion. Guys, whoever's watching this who doesn't do this, start doing it and DM me and say, thanks, Dan, because your conversion will double, right? You're going to get a lot more listings by doing these things.
Yeah, and just one of the other objections you can get when you ask if everything is perfect, we're ready to move forward. And if they said they're going to interview other agents, they might still say, well, I am talking to other people. That's great. Even they've reinforced that objection in your head, and you know what you got to do. And you can ask if they didn't say it, oh, who are those? And keep going forward. That's really probably the most important part after you get an appointment is to qualify them and move forward. All right. So with your business and how you've, let's just call it downsized as you upsize the quality of life. Have you done that with just systems and processes, or have there been other things? You talked about VAs. Talk to me how you've implemented that into your business to allow you to do what you do today.
Well, I think the coolest thing I've done in the last 5 years is I've realized that most of these third-party VA companies were just, no offense to them, but they are just severely underpaying their VAs and they're overcharging agents. So, I learned that and I left the company that I was with and I kind of went and built my own thing. And now I have a small virtual assistant company and I've utilized all the learning lessons that I've built, like through my VAs, like just for my own business. And I've kind of handed that off to agents who use our services, which is really cool because now I have 20 agent clients now. And now I get to we all get to synergize and share different ways we're utilizing our VAs. And I'm learning so much from all of these agents. It's almost like I'm sitting in this captain's chair watching 20 people's businesses and how they're utilizing VAs. And I get to kind of cherry pick what's working for them. So, but real quick, some of the best ways to utilize a VA is vendor coordination, calling vendors. I know that sounds silly, but it's such a time suck when you're like, hey, you got to call the sign company. You got to call the inspectors. You got to call this, you got to call the paint stager, the photographer. I haven't talked to a vendor in a very long time. Showing itineraries. So if you're going to show 5 buyers or 5 houses tomorrow, you just send the list of houses you're showing. Your buyer strategically sets it up through showing time, through the listing agent. They put it in the right geographical order. Then they send you and the client an itinerary for tomorrow. Love that, right? Hey, this is how you access the home. This is how you access the home, the combo code, this. So I just look at my phone and I'm like, okay, we're going to 123 Main Street. It's got all the details about the house, all the private remarks. How do I access the home? It's such a time saver. They do stupid stuff like, hey, don't forget. I always use this example. My wife's going to hate me, but they message my wife once a week to pay her credit cards. They do silly things like that to just keep us on track with stuff. Social media stuff. My social media isn't as robust as some of these big media guys, but they help keep my social media pretty sharp. I'm always sending them stuff that we can kind of rip off and duplicate. There's just so many things. Right? Listings, they take 80% of the work off my plate. right, for listings.
That's really important. I don't want to get into, you just said rip off and duplicate. I want to make sure that people understand exactly what that means. So everybody just understands it's R&D. It's not research and development. It's rip off and duplicate. And what that allows us to do is not have to worry about thought process. Talk to me about how you utilize a process or whatever you do with that. Are you giving ideas to your VAs? How are you doing that? And are you just giving them thoughts? Are you sending them videos? You're sending what other people are doing? How do we incorporate that and build other scripts for that?
Yeah, literally, my guy's putting out one blog a week now, and I'll just send him something that I saw that I was like, hey, make this sound like me, right? It's like, oh, the United States housing market has done this, this, and this. I send him that. He turns it into a blog post. He posts it. I just wrote a blog. Right. And that helps with SEO. That helps with people staying entertained. Our newsletter goes out to 13,000 people and has like a 40-something% open rate every week.
That's good.
It's freaking crazy. But it's all Bay Area news. So it's like a Bay Area newsletter. I know it's called a newsletter, but it has nothing to do with real estate. There's just a tiny bit of real estate at the end. We copied that from Compass. Like we saw a Compass newsletter. I was like, this looks sexy. I was like, could you guys make me something like this? And they made it. So it's, it talks about health. It talks about food. It talks about events. Yeah, we just get a lot of people that open it up every week. And I think that's pretty cool. But that's an example, right? Anything you see, you send to the VA and say, hey, make this a Danny version of this, please. And then you post it.
Were the typical systems and processes such as CRM or products like let's say Fellow or Rooster or Ylopo or any of this, are any of those involved as far as systems and processes for you?
Yeah, I mean, we have Follow Up Boss, we have Ylopo. Unfortunately, we let go Fellow. I don't know if it was a cost thing or I just wasn't converting after a year with them or whatever that was. I always blame myself, so don't take away from Fellow at all. Those very likely
not at all.
My team. Yeah, so they go in the database. So I'm doing YouTube ads. I started that about 180 days ago. That's been going pretty well. YouTube seller ads, and my VA, that's an offshore person working for me. My VA has to collect those leads, input them into the database. There's no free, when you get a home light lead, it goes straight into Follow Up Boss, right?
Right.
And that's all systematized, right? That gets a text, they get set up on their auto stuff. But let's say a YouTube lead comes in, that's not like an auto move over into Follow Up Boss right now. And so the VAs look at that every morning, they pick that up, they put it in the database, they put a task on it, and they send the initial text. And so that's a system. Right. And that's a very small system that you can use a VA to do. And of course, Ylopo is super robust now with their AI. So that's like all the buyer leads go into that and they start working on those sequences.
Yeah. So what's a big mistake that people do when they say they want to grow that people run into? Is there a big mistake that they make, or are there things they should work out when they say they want to grow? That's different than growing. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm so glad you just asked that, man. One of the things I'm most passionate about is like the misdirection I got when I first got into the business. When I joined Keller Williams back 12 years ago, it was like, you got to become a mega team leader. Like it was it. Like it's a path to team leader. Like that's what we're all on, right? We're all on this path to being a team leader. And now what I tell people is like, there's so many ways to grow a huge business and profitable business and leveraged business without ever bringing on a team member, right? I mean, you just don't need a team member. You don't have to build a team to sell 100 houses, right? You can build a 5-person showing agent bench, right? You can build a VA team. You can build a listing coordinator. You can build all this out super profitably, way less headache, way less babysitting. And I think everyone should do that first. And then if they want to go to 200, 300, 500 units and keep growing, and that's who they are, that's who their spirit animal is like, a team leader, right? That's who they are as a person. They want to be helping agents grow their business, then do that. I just feel like, myself included, we put the cart before the horse, which in the end is just, it's not the profitable best way to go about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I get that. And there's a lot of people I've met. Oh, I mean, look, I'm going back, I got to be going back 15, 20 years. People that say, well, I want to start a team, or I want to be a team. And I would rarely, those days, I would rarely hear, I want to be a member of a team. If they did, I would say, well, you are. All you have to do is plug into our systems, which you're not doing. Because most agents in that legacy brokerage style really didn't plug in. They expected to come, and they expected, what kind of leads you're getting me. And just like, one of the things is that, you're giving them leads, you're almost kind of like giving them money, and you're giving them money out of your pocket. And Chep always said, if they come for money, they're going to leave for money. So if they come for leads, they're going to leave for leads. This guy's got a better lead. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. And growth in and of itself, it's hard. Like if someone says to you, Danny, that they want to grow a team, they want to be a team leader, a lot of times I don't think they understand what that really means.
Yeah, they absolutely don't. I think most of the time, right? There's no way they could know what that means.
So, I mean, everybody needs to understand that, look into what you're doing. So your business is very clear as to what you're doing. And also, we started talking about this the other day. We started talking about health. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that we can really talk about a commitment to your business is one thing, but a commitment to, working out, commitment to, health and everything else and what you're doing. Talk to me about how that has helped you and what you actually do for your health to move forward, and what is helping you grow as a human being and in your body.
Yeah. I think everything starts and ends with like our mindset and our like the power to stay like emotionally in control. Right. And so I think working on your mind every day has to almost be a non-negotiable, right? Like you just can't go into an entrepreneurial workday with like a scattered brain. Right. And the days where I'm at my best is when I've taken care of my health and my mind in the morning. And they're the longest, best days, right? I can make it into the evening without being super burnt out. And I just like, what's the purpose of business if we're not going to be happy? Like, and we don't have to actually be happy. I think that's a crap word. Like content, like at peace.
Yeah, I get it.
Right? Like content and at peace with what we're doing, like with where we are in our life. Because I think a lot of the drivers, a lot of people who are probably watching this are drivers. And I think it's always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Like, and I think to just be able to be at peace is so important. And it's kind of a shame that we don't celebrate like other things in this business other than production, right? Like I wish there was an award for like who spent the most time with their kids, who went on the most badass vacations and like lived the biggest life. Because I think if we celebrated that more, then there'd be more perspective on like what's important. Because like units just don't matter if you get a divorce next year, right? And units don't matter if you're fat and out of shape and have a heart attack in 5 years and you're dead at 50. And so anyways, look, I live a pretty crazy life in terms of living on all different, there's a lot of versions of me. And the coolest version of me is the person who has nothing to do with real estate, right? It's the snowboarder who broke his collarbone 3 weeks ago, who's going to go back out next week like a savage with his son, right, into the storm, right? Like that's who I am. My wife and I trekked Mont Blanc last year, 120 miles for 15 days. We were gone without any kids or work or nothing. It was amazing, right? And it's like, that's what I think I'm going to look back on in 20 years is those experiences. None of this real estate stuff is ever going to matter. And I think we just have to have perspective on that. And it starts with just like being outdoors, setting big health goals so you can chase something greater than money.
Yeah, That's really so important, and I realize that. I mean, one of the things about me is I same thing. I mean, my health is very important to me because let's face it, I'm not getting any younger, and I know, unfortunately, there's more days behind me than there are in front of me. So I want to be able to live those years as full as possible, as full as I did before. But I also know that there are certain things that I enjoy doing on a regular basis when it comes to work that I need to drive. I know that there is in my life. I know that there are things that hold me back. I know that I get in my own way. And I know there's a lot of people out there that will listen to this or are listening to it or watching it or whatever. And even not, we get in our own way so much.
Can I ask you something real quick? Can I ask you something?
Go,
sorry to interrupt. This is where being a team leader is kind of cool, right? This is where leading people is kind of cool because you can show up to work to help others. Right. I believe you show up to work and you enjoy pushing, you enjoy life because you like helping others. And I could be wrong, but it's like, that's where being a leader of others is really cool. Right. And that's where being the entrepreneurial spirit and being in this room together right now is so cool. Right. Because like you and I are having a ball right now. Right. We're pouring into others. We're talking about life. Like this is work technically. So I think that's another interesting topic is, you in your role within your company, you're showing up to work every day to help people, right? And I think having that perspective versus like selling houses is super important.
So so it is, and I'll go to a little story about even yesterday. So yesterday I was at one of our offices in Central Jersey, very small place. You know, probably one room is like 10 feet by 18 feet, and the other room is like 10 by 12 right next to each other. And there were like 10 people in this office. Now that's a lot of people for two small rooms. And everybody's there making calls. They're supporting each other. They're doing all this. And then they had a meeting in the middle with this micro team. And I'm just saying, I mean, that was fun. You know, that was fun. And for me to continue to do that, there's other things that'll make me feel, I know I feel a lot better about myself when I'm successful. So I have to figure out the best way for me to have that successful, which is my mindset, right? I need to know what that success is all about. I need to know what that feeling is. So I want to continue to feel that, to be able to do that at the highest level, right? Yeah. And I realized that the way to do that is say, okay, where do I want to be next year, or where do I really want to be in 5 to 10 years? And I look at that and I say, okay, in 5 to 10 years, I want to be doing this. Well, honestly, I don't know what I want to be doing in 5 to 10 years. I want to do that now. So in order to do that now, Danny, what do I have to do what I want to do in 10 years in the next 6 months? Which means I need to be really clear on what I want. I need to be relentless in what I'm doing, and to be able to do those tasks that might suck, but I got to do them on a regular basis and them to be non-negotiable. And that has a lot to do with health. Yeah. This is why I asked you one of the reasons I asked the question. And of course, we both like to talk about it. So it's an easy conversation for you and me. You know,
what's the book's name? Die with Zero. Have you read Die with Zero?
I've not read it. I've heard of it.
Such a fantastic book. But after I read that book, I built a lifetime bucket list. So everything across the world that I want to do, every type of event, every thing I could imagine, I wrote a lifetime bucket list, and then I put it in order of where it should be based on my age and based on my children's age. So like, I know going to an African safari isn't right for me right now because my daughter's 4, but I know when she's about 8-ish and my son is 12-ish, that would be a really cool time to go do African safari. So I lifetime bucket list everything by year. So like 2029, like, is where kind of the African safari bucket list item might be. And then everything's ranked out in time. And I thought that was really cool. Like, I've never heard anyone do that exercise. And so I always like to share that.
So I'm going to steal something from you now that you just said that. So one of the things I do with newer agents are agents that are stuck, and I start talking to them about I want them to really be able to understand what habits are, what planning is, what scheduling is, and how to do that as time goes on. So I asked them to do I asked them to do a process of lists. And the number one list I asked them to do is a global list. Okay. A global list is anything you can think of. African safari is one of them, right? And then as time goes on, they get this list, and this is anything, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you how I learned this, right? And then what I want you to do is I want you to make a list of like anywhere between 3 and 5 years on that list, what you want to do. And then I want you to take everything on that list of 3 to 5, and I want you to put it in 1 year. What do you need to achieve that? What do you need to do to achieve that? Is there a dollar amount that you need to be able to do that? And is there a time amount, family time, personal time, all that stuff? And I want you to put that into your schedule. And the great thing about this is what you just gave me is I want you to take that global list, and then after you make the entire list, put a timestamp next to it. That's what I'm going to take from you from this day, right? In this conversation. But I think that's really cool because you actually put your life out there, what you want, and it's there. I did this with a very good friend of mine who was coaching me at the time, Grant Wise. Grant was probably the first guy that taught people Facebook ads. And him and I met 10, 12 years ago. And I had just sold my business and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I went down and spent a couple of days with him. And we walked in this big room. It must have been a 20-foot whiteboard. And he said, "What do you want to do, Dave?" I said, I mean, I want to, build programs. I want to help agents. I want to coach it, And he said, "I want you to write it down on the board." And he gave me, dry erase marker. He says, "I'll be back." I stood there for 30 minutes. Could not figure out anything to write. 30 fucking minutes. Then all of a sudden, okay. I wrote one thing down. And in the next 30 minutes, I had filled the entire board. Right? So I just did a mind dump. And this is where the idea for the global list came from. And then I said, okay, so when Grant comes back in, he says, all right, let's take everything that's up there and let's put it down in certain areas. And one by one, we erased pieces on the board and where everything went. And I was able to sort things out in a really, really positive way to understand what I wanted to do. And it sounds like you've done the same thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And get back to the health thing. I know for me, Danny, and I know for you, I'm gonna assume for you, is the clarity that we get, or I say the clearness of mind that we get when we work out, when we go out. I mean, you used to go early in the morning, right?
Yeah, every morning. Yeah.
How's that set your day up?
It's wonderful. Actually, I like to give examples of the other side. So like I was a bartender for 11 years. And to this day, I still go party with my friends, every now and again. I'll get involved. Like I just missed this epic ski trip because I broke my collarbone. But like I was supposed to be in Park City 3 weeks ago. Fortunately, I didn't go. The snow was crap and there was nobody out there. But if I would have gone on that trip, there would have been probably 3 days of drinking, right? And my friends don't drink lightly. So if I would have gone on that trip and partied for 3 days, like it would have taken me probably 2 weeks to like regain momentum in my life and my business. And that's kind of like the opposite side of it, right? Like you're either helping your momentum with your mindset, with your business, right? You're like keeping the ball moving forward, even if it's slowly, as you progress with your health. And if you're not intentionally going after your health, the snowball is going the other way, right? Yeah. You're getting a little bit fatter. You're getting a little bit dumber. You're getting a little bit more lazy. You're getting a little bit more complacent. And so that's kind of why you have to have these big health goals, these big Spartan races or triathlons or big treks or hikes or whatever. Like I like to say every 90 days, you need to have something on your calendar that like you're going to do that's going to hold you accountable to your health. Like, and if you don't, it's just so easy to slack off, you know?
Yeah, and I also realized along with that same line of thought is that if you slack off and you say, well, I'm still doing this, I'm still doing that, and then like holidays, I'll use that as an example. I call November 15th to January 4th or 5th the eating season.
Whew. Everything season, dude. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and I know that unfortunately, I'm going to put on a few pounds. I'm not going to work out as much as I did, but I did work out, but it wasn't the intensity that I typically do. And realizing the mistake I made, not that I'm going to go and eat like crazy. I mean, I eat everything I love. So the point I make is that now there's an intensity that's different about what I do and how I do it, is that, I know that it's not going to happen just because I do it. It's going to happen because I want to do it, because I want to get it done. I want to reach a certain area, rather than say, well, I'm doing all this work and I'm still putting on weight. Dude, you ate like a pig for 2 months. You cannot work out a bad diet.
No, you can't, man.
So anyway, man, we've talked about a lot of different things today, and I hope it had some value to you, and I hope it had value to everybody else. Well, I mean, you have a lot of agents out there, Danny. What would you say to them? What's the best advice you can give to someone that's growing and getting into this business and really starting to do well? What would be the best advice that you could give them?
I mean, the absolute easiest way to success is just like being around people who have done what you want to do. Like if you want to sell 100 units, like stop hanging around people who are selling less than 100 units, because you're just going to mirror the people that you're around, right? That's just the reality of like human psychology. So like the easiest way for you to just step your world up is get around people who are just doing what you want to do. And it's like the easiest hack. Like I can't tell you how silly it is for me to look back on my first few years in the business. I was so proud to lift up the I'm the best in the office trophy, or, when it's literally like a badge of you saying I'm in the wrong room, right? when you're like I was part of this group, Agent Leadership Council. No offense, I love Keller Williams. I'm not throwing them under the bus at all. They helped change my life. There's a lot of amazing people in that organization. But they have this thing called the ALC, and it was the top 20. It was supposed to be only agents that were in the top 20% of that market. And I was in my second year in business, and I was in that group. And I was like, at the time I had such an ego. I didn't realize that like I was just hanging around people who were not successful real estate agents, right? And so I would just say audit your circle. Yeah. Get around people that are crushing it and just copy them. It's the easiest thing you could do.
Yeah, we're very fortunate because we are around those people on a regular basis. And I got to say, like, it's just so much more fun to be with people. You have to be in the right rooms. I mean, yeah. I'm not telling you to go to every event that you see.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, there are some events you should be going to. Yeah. I don't know if it's the annual convention for your company or it's a convention such as, I don't know, Chet Black's Tahoe event or Spring Benson's Spring Break, which I believe is one of the best events because I went to it last year and we'll miss it this year, unfortunately. But it's less about real estate than it is about real estate, and it's about yourself. But I think it's really important to be in the right rooms, as you said, and be with the right people. It's really important. Yep. Danny, last but not least, I have two things, and we'll end this broadcast today. The first one is a question. How do I help you grow your business?
Now that I'm solely focused on production, if you know anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest in Sacramento or the San Francisco Bay Area, I would be honored to be your referral partner for life. And most importantly, send referrals back to you. Two-way street. And honestly, just be giving. Just give, give more. Give more out in public. Give more to your people in private as well.
That's great. Thank you so much. And of course, Danny, last but not least. You got another one a number of years ago. We're gonna go with the gray one this time.
I love it, dude.
I want to thank you so much.
I always like to recommend a couple books before I
Go ahead, man.
Before I leave when I'm on these podcasts these days, just because it's really cool. I feel like to do to show what people are reading. This book is a very dated book on advertising, but it's a really cool book. This guy is the OG of advertising. So if you guys can buy this book, if you're looking into ads or just getting better at copywriting, these are all the best advertisements like ever, and how he built them out. And it's just such a great book. And then of course, this book is flying around. Everybody's recommending this book, but Deep Work is something that I think all of us spaz ADHD cats need to read. Those are two books that I'm really into right now. So sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. And I'm going to add one to it. And I don't have it in front of me. I've had the book for a while, have it on Audible, and decided, you know what? Let me see what this is about. It's called Grit. I'm sure everybody's heard of it.
Great book.
They've heard about the word grit.
Great book.
But I think about it. I tried to stop listening to it twice because I just don't want to hear the stories. Let's go on. Let's get to what I got to do. Give me the 10-page version of a 240-page book.
Me too, dude.
And as I started getting through it, I mean, a lot of the stories went through my head, but I understand more about that 4-letter word grit than I did before. It's not where you get, it's being really involved in this little steps that you have to take to get there.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm glad I decided to go through it. And
was that Angela Duckworth? Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
That came out, I think, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I think that was
something
like really hot.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
But I haven't read it in a long time. I should go back to it.
Next week, we've got Chasten Miles coming on. He's a TEDx speaker. He's founder of Power Unit Coaching. He's also at the top real estate agent, I believe from Texas area. Chasten's been on before. He's a great guy. He's just so vibrant and stuff. You're going to learn a lot from Chasten next week. I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, Danny, thank you so much for being on. Please stay on until the end. So yeah, that's a good idea. I should do that too. You know, I never do that. I never do that. There we go. Anyway, Danny, God bless you, man. God bless your family.
Thanks,
take care of that
man.
collarbone, and
Thanks.
we'll see you real soon.